Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to the 3DO Experience, the number one 3DO podcast in the world because we say it is. I am back. I'm not dead. The internet has been fixed, so I'm back. Thrak is back, and of course, as always, is Bill. Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. It's only been 2 days and I already feel exhausted, but that's just my life.
Yeah, you say that every week.
I know. And it's probably something I should be concerned about, but I don't have time to be concerned right now. So
Eh, you-
oh boy.
well, you're going through some life stuff, so it'll get better.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It's also getting cold and that always kind of fucks me up a little bit.
See, I love it. For our audio listeners, I'm wearing my Vikings hoodie. You'll probably see it more than once in the colder months. So, because when we came back, because I was gone for a week because my brother got married in Virginia Beach for whatever reason. The trip wasn't too bad. It was a bit cold there, and by cold I mean like it was in the 60s. But couple days were like high 70s, so I was actually able to go in the water and swim a little bit, which was nice. It's the only reason I bothered to go out there. But when we came back, it was like 55.
Mm.
So it was pretty chilly. And I was like, yes, thank God. So,
Yeah,
because I much prefer this like chilly, cold weather. I tend to enjoy it more.
see, I screwed myself this morning because I didn't drive at all on Monday because we had the day off. So my car had been sitting all day. And I forgot the last time I drove it was the Saturday. And it was like weirdly hot that day. It was like high 70s. So I had my AC on in the car and I forgot to turn it off. So I went when I auto started my car this morning to defrost the window, the AC was blasting the entire time. So it just made it worse. And I was like, fuck.
Did it freeze it?
Oh yeah, it was like 32 degrees this morning, so it was like all iced up and
Oh God.
yeah, so I had to remember to turn it to hot.
Did you scrape your windshield? Like get
It
the scraper
was
out?
so it wasn't thick enough that I needed the scraper. I just had to wait a few minutes on a full blast, and it eventually came off.
Oh, that's good. I remember once it was in my old car. I was driving and somehow the windshield got all like frosty, but it was on the inside and not the outside. And I still
Huh.
have no idea why that happened because I wasn't blasting the AC. If anything, I had the heat on. So it was weird, but it's the only time it's ever happened to me.
Huh.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, I did most of the driving to and fro Virginia Beach, and it's about 9.5 hours. So it surprisingly wasn't too bad. The drive to was pretty smooth until we got like right near Virginia Beach because I think they're like doing some construction on like the bridges and all that. So and it was rush hour, so traffic kind of stopped a bit, and we had to go through like a tunnel under the water. It was like a whole thing. But the drive
Yeah.
back was incredibly smooth. Like didn't run into like any traffic at all, except getting out of like Norfolk and Hampton. So
Yeah.
that was the
It's
most
really
of it.
funny because like the second you start going north, the traffic just becomes the worst fucking shit like you'll ever see.
Yeah, yeah. And it was interesting because like when we were driving back, we saw like a bunch of like North Carolina license plates, like a lot to where it was noticeable. And I think if I remember correctly, because when we drove down, it was when Milton was coming through like Tampa and all that stuff.
Mm.
So oh yeah, I never showed you guys the pictures, but the Airbnb we were at, the balcony, like the beach was right there. Like it was gorgeous. And that night when Milton came in, like yeah, I mean it was down in Florida, but we were getting like really aggressive waves and wind like just coming up from it. So which was neat to see, and it was very loud, but
Yeah.
no damage or anything, obviously.
Yeah. Nothing like what's going on down south around the
No,
Carolinas and Florida.
no, not at all. And that's probably why I saw those North Carolina license plates because they were coming up because they got hammered.
Oh yeah.
But I was thinking, I was like, why are they coming all the way up to Ohio? Unless I don't know, maybe they had reason to. So
A lot of them are just fleeing the area. It's bizarre down there right now.
yeah, yeah. I guess they can afford to flee. So, but that's a whole thing. I feel bad for people who get stuck in those areas, and that's like it's hard for them to afford to leave. You
Mm.
know, but it's a complicated situation down there, and being in Virginia Beach, like watching the local news from time to time, that's really all they talked about. was like people were still dealing with Helene, and then Milton comes in, getting killed by a fucking board game hurricane.
Yeah. Yeah. What's next? Bradley.
Well, I think it's Nadine.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But
The way
if I
they
remember
came up.
correctly, Nadine was just kind of like in the Atlantic and wasn't planning to do anything. So, but I don't know. I live in Ohio, so I don't really worry about it that much.
Yeah, we oddly don't get a lot of them up in New England. It just kind of New England's just kind of its own weirdness.
I think it's because you're so far north that the water temperature doesn't get as high up there. That would be my guess. And if I remember correctly, hurricanes they start around like say like either like on like Africa and come west, or down say like near South America and come up. So usually by the time they get to say where you or me are, it's usually just a bunch of rain, if anything.
Yeah, we'll rarely get a big. Usually it's a tropical storm. Occasionally we'll get a hurricane, but it's so like few and far between. We're more prone to snowstorms up here, but even then, we haven't had a major snowstorm in a couple of years.
Yeah, where I sit is like right in Tornado Valley. So, and that's the thing. We've never had a tornado like directly near us. I'm knocking on the wood. There's been some like to the north of us that have been like really bad, but we've.
Yeah.
I think it's because we're kind of in a valley, so we get to avoid a lot of that stuff. On the plus side, you avoid the tornadoes, but then on the downside, when there's like droughts, the rain will just kind of go right past us. So, but it is what it is. I did a little bit of gaming while I was down there. Started up Shin Megami Tensei 4.
Nice.
Probably not the best game to play when you're chilling on vacation, but
Yeah, it's kind of a stressful game.
Yeah, I got past the Minotaur, that was a tough fight, but I was able to get past him. I had to do quite a bit of work, but I did. And then after that, I kind of put the game down because that took a lot out of me.
Oh
So
yeah.
who knows? I may never return to it. It's a very good game though, but it is what it is. The whole time I was down there, I was just thinking about one game because I started it before I left, and
Yep.
I finished it today. But I'm working on the little extra mode in it that I'll probably finish it as soon as we're done with this, and that is Silent Hill 2
Yeah.
for the Xbox, which for some reason they subtitled Restless Dreams. I have no idea why, because like dreams aren't really like a main theme of the game. Not really. I mean, it's like a subtle thing potentially.
I
But
guess
yeah.
they just wanted that version to be special or something.
But if I remember correctly, it's the director's cut that they released for PS2. It's the same version as that.
Yeah.
So.
It's kind of like how Onimusha had Genma Onimusha on the Xbox.
Oh yeah, it did. That's weird, but I'm never going to play on.
It's weird though because like Metal Gear Solid 2 they had a Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance on Xbox, and for some reason that's like one of the few infamous bad Xbox ports compared to the PS2 version.
Yeah, I've heard that because that was again. I think that was the special edition.
Yeah,
because PS2 got it as well.
Yes, so the original was Sons of Liberty, and then they did like Substance, kind of like how they for Metal Gear Solid 1 they had Metal Gear Solid 1 and then Metal Gear Solid 1 Integral, I believe it was. In Japan only, we didn't. So it's confusing. Apparently, Integral is actually the version we got over here. Sort of like we got sort of a weird mix mash of like both of them.
It's kind of like when they do like Final Fantasy X and then Final Fantasy X International Edition or whatever.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because Integral in Japan, I actually imported just because I was curious. It's like a weird hybrid of our version and like a newer version. Plus, it has a bonus disc that has VR missions, which we got separately over here.
Yeah.
And then like three was like Snake Eater and then Subsistence. I think Subsistence is like the best bonus version.
Yeah. Love Subsistence. That's how I played MGS3 back in the day, was on that. Fantastic. Still loved it.
Snake versus Monkey.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, Silent Hill 2 Restless Dreams. I will be doing a blog about this for SuperPod. So, barring any specific details, I can say it was very good. Like, this was the first time I beat Silent Hill 2. It took me 7 hours. Short game.
It is. It's more about the experience than anything.
Yeah, and I realized that. In fact, I had the thought at one point that I'm like, is this just a glorified walking simulator? But it's a little bit more than that. You
You
do
know,
more, but not a
there's
huge
more
amount more.
there's more to it, but you're not wrong.
Yeah, because the combat is very minimal. The puzzles aren't really that um difficult, really. I'd say the most difficult one is probably the coin puzzle at the very beginning, where you have to put the
Mm,
coins in the right spot. Other than that, it's not a challenging game in any way. But as you said, yeah, it's about the experience, the surreal like storytelling, the atmosphere, the soundtrack. Like the
oh yeah.
audio design is phenomenal. Like people had always like hyped it up, and I never really saw the big deal. But now that I've played through it, I'm like, okay, I get it now. Like it does a really good job with the audio stuff. And yeah, really liked it. I'm still not 100% sure what happened. I have my theories, but you know,
I'm
but we'll see. But I beat the main story, and then there's that little additional Maria section that I'm basically done. Like I got like the last major thing you need to get, and then I just need to go back to a specific place, give and with that item, and then that basically finishes it. So I have like maybe 10 minutes of it left.
hmm,
But yeah, it's a very good game, and I do want to play the rest of the Silent Hill games.
I've
'Cause
heard the remake is actually pretty good from what people are saying.
yes, from what
Like
I've heard, the remake did a really good job of modernizing the
like
game. Like,
everybody shat on Boober Team and they actually pulled it off.
well, I was kind of in the same boat because I was like, what's the problem with Bloober Team? Like, I never understood
A
it, and
blooper.
then
Yeah.
or blooper or whatever, and then people had told me like the issues with their previous games, and I was like, so they're a dev that had a bit of a iffy track record when it came to horror stuff, and then they were given the keys to like one of the most beloved horror games of all time. Like you could see people being like being cautious, which I think is fair to think about with any remake, being
Mhm.
like, we're not sure about this, right? Like, are they going
Especially
to
one of
pull it
the
off?
most critically acclaimed games of all time.
Exactly. Like Konami hadn't been making good decisions, hasn't made great decisions consistently for the last however many years now. Like Bloober Team's track record wasn't great. I get why people were concerned, and I was too, because we're like, oh, if they fuck this up, are we done? Like, is this it? Kind of thing. I'm glad they didn't fuck it up. At least from what people have
Mm.
said, they've been really enjoying it. Um, and I've heard they've like doubled the length of the game. That's about like 15 hours now, as opposed to this, which is like 7. Um, so I'd be curious to see how they extend it because they said it's a timed console exclusive for about a year. So my guess is this time next year it'll probably come to Xbox, and then
Most likely.
I'll play it then, and then we'll see. Um, and yeah, and again, it's for some reason gotten thrown into the weird like gooning discourse now with like the whole Angela thing. Like I kind of got
Uh,
caught in that when I
that
was when
whole
I
thing was wild as fuck to
because
watch.
I got kind of caught in it because since I was, down on the vacation in Virginia Beach, I didn't always have a lot of stuff to do, so I was just sit there on my phone, and I saw this stuff happening, and I was just like, what the heck is this? So I made a little comment. I think it was Quest 64's stuff. Hi Quest, he has listened to the show. And I just like commented a thing under it, and it kind of sparked this weird discourse. Like I got hate quote tweeted for the first time, which is awesome. Um,
That lady hate quote tweeted a lot.
And finding out that was a lady blew my mind because I'm like, this is probably just some weird dude. And they're like, no, it's a woman. I'm like, really? Like that blew my mind. But regardless of that, it
I,
was
I just
fucking
thought it
weird.
was funny she was going this far out of her way arguing with a meme account. Like
Yeah. Though Quest can be serious sometimes, but
he
I think it's
can
all
be.
I think it's all tongue in cheek though. Or at least that's the vibe I get from Quest.
That was one of his like rare serious like posts too. That was the
Yeah.
sad
Yeah.
part.
And the thing is now I've played through the original game, and so like I know the whole kind of deal with Angela, like her character and everything, right? So people going out of their way to like modify her character model in the remake to appear hotter is weird as hell because it has nothing to do with her character. I mean, maybe debatably because she is a trauma victim. And it's never well, the thing was with Silent Hill, it doesn't really fully explain anything. It just kind of gives you rough ideas for things and you kind of fill in the blanks. But with Angela, it's obvious she's like dealing with some trauma and you can kind of guess what kind of trauma. So, and if it is what we're thinking, modifying her character model in the remake to appear more attractive is kind of like
Yeah.
degrading and shitty.
Also,
So,
like I'm sitting here just like from like a realist like point of view, and I'm sitting here thinking like there's nothing hot about Silent Hill in general. Like that is a game that is
no.
meant to fuck you up like in the head. Like
Like even the character they try to make attractive, Maria, like there's reason for it. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it's
Like
symbolic.
yeah, exactly. She's symbolism, but again, we won't get into that. I don't want to say too much about the story because the
Oh yeah.
remake is fresh, so there's probably a lot of people experiencing it for the first time. So, and now I've heard the rumor that they may be looking into remaking 3,
I mean,
which I wish they would do 1 because
well,
3 is a direct sequel to 1.
one technically got remade if you but it's like a very loose interpretation of one if you count Shattered Memories.
I call it an adaptation. Kind of the same thing I would say like Dracula X's to Rondo of Blood. Like
Yeah.
it's an adaptation. It's not the same thing,
No.
it's like the homemade version,
It's a
right?
very it's
I
an
like Shattered
interesting.
Memories.
Oh yeah,
I think Shattered Memories is really fucking cool. Like the
I
way the game is like paced and set up. Like I found it like to be a fascinating experience.
I've
But
always been on the
is it an
side that like
amazing game? No, but I think
no.
it's not bad. Like of all the teams, the post Team Silent games, it's probably the best or one of the best ones.
I'd
People
argue
like
Origin.
Origins, but I
Origin
haven't played Origins, so I can't say.
Climax did a very good job on those two games. Like for the first two games post Team Silent, we were actually in pretty good hands. Even Homecoming's not bad. Like Double Helix made a very solid game. It's just a very action heavy game and not super Silent Hillish.
Yeah,
Which,
Silent Hill is not action at all. Like Silent Hill
although
2, like Silent Hill 2, I don't think I even bothered using like guns until like I got to the second boss. Cuz at that point you kind of need them. But and even then I would just like I most of the time I just hit things with the steel pipe and
yeah,
it worked. Like there was really no reason to use the gun until I got like right near the end of the game and I had just had so much resources. I'm like, yeah, I might as well just use. I had like 300 handgun bullets at one point. I'm like, I might as well just start using these.
I'll argue the action in Homecoming gets a bit of a pass though because you are playing as like an ex-soldier, so it kind of makes sense. It's still not great, but I give Homecoming a bit of a pass. Downpour was the one that where it was really kind of like, ew, they fucked this up pretty hard.
Yeah, I think what helps Origins and Shattered Memories is their lead designer was Sam Barlow,
Yeah,
who has now been proven to have a really good track record with like horror and more kind of suspenseful stuff with like Her Story and Immortality. I'll go on forever about how great Immortality was. But like knowing that he was tied to like some of the more well received post Team Silent Hill games makes a lot of sense.
mm,
So I do have Homecoming and Downpour for the 360. And I would like to give them both a try. I've never played them. So, Homecoming, I don't know if I'll start it this soon. Maybe I'll save it, but Homecoming is the one I've been curious to try the most because people do enjoy it, or at least it seems people do like it overall
I
more
think that
than some of the other ones. But Downpour people hate, which makes me kind of want to try it even more because I'm like, ooh, what's bad about it? But now that I've gotten one of the iconic titles and like the iconic Silent Hill title done, now I really want to dive through the rest of them to see how it compares.
yeah. I think Homecoming, the general consensus with most people is that it's a good game, just not a very good Silent Hill game.
Yeah, and that's fair. Maybe it's like I don't know, like Resident Evil 5 or something, where it's a bit divisive, but it's not hated
Yeah,
generally. Whereas Downpour could be the 6, where people
down,
generally hate the game.
the problem with Downpour is they were trying really hard to be good, but they just everything they did was just so half-assed.
Yeah. And it was
Like,
made by some random team in the Czech Republic who had made like one game before that. So they
yeah,
didn't even have a track record. Like
a
Double
lot of
Helix had a track record at least.
oh yeah, both pre and post.
Yeah.
A lot of people will give the game crap too because it was the first one without Akira Yakamoka or Yakamoko, whatever the
Oh,
composer.
he didn't do the soundtrack for Homecoming?
No, he did Homecoming. The first one he didn't do was Downpour.
Oh, yeah, that's gotta hurt.
Well, here's actually the thing I will actually defend. They got Daniel Light, the guy from Dexter, to do the soundtrack.
Oh, that's a good
He
pick.
he did a really good job. Like a lot of people will shit on the game because of that, but I'm like, I don't think they listen to the music because he really did his homework and actually tried. And I think if anything, it's probably one of the better aspects of that game.
Mm-hmm.
He also did a Book of Memories. So
Oh,
there's
Book of
that.
Memories. That's such a
Um,
weird game.
it is. Way Forward made a 3D game and it was not very good.
Yeah, they made a dungeon crawler based on Silent Hill for the PlayStation Vita,
Vita.
and shocker, that wacky shit didn't work.
No, and now it's actually one of the hardest games in the series to find because Vita.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever play it. So,
If I
but it
find a
is what it
copy
is.
for cheap, I might, but I'm not hunting it down right now by any means. No worries.
Anyways, yeah, so Silent Hill, I will probably keep going through the series, probably just, slowly over time. Like, I want to try to hunt down the original. But again, I think Silent Hill 1 deserves like a proper modern remake because, that because it's just such an interesting thing, And because Silent Hill 3 getting the remake, I get it. Like Silent Hill 3, people argue like which is better, 2 or 3, right? All the time. Um, and 3 definitely deserves a remake, but I think 1 would help because I believe, I could be wrong on this, but the protagonist in Silent Hill 3 is Heather Mason, who is the daughter of what's his name, Harry Mason in the original
Yep.
Silent Hill. So there's a direct tie there. Because the only complaint I could find about Silent Hill 2 was people complaining that it wasn't directly tied to the original Silent Hill.
Yeah, but even then, that's such a unrelevant complaint in reality.
Yeah, yeah. Unless you get the alien abduction ending, he appears in the game then.
Yeah, I love the endings because they're always so fucking great.
Yeah, I did look up all the other endings, and the one with the dog is
Dog at the computer
just
is the best one.
incredible. I don't know if the remake kept all those silly endings. I hope they did because those are fucking great.
Yeah. Other than that, though, news recently, Nobuo Uematsu's officially retired.
Yeah, I mean, he was always kind of semi-retired, anyways, or at least I think he had described himself as like semi-retired. Um, like when he became a contractor, essentially, where he's like, he's done most of what he wanted to do, so he's good.
He would just come out of retirement to do a Sakaguchi game, and then he would go back to doing his music stuff elsewhere.
Yeah, freelancer basically. But yeah, he has announced that oh fuck, I forget what it's called off the top of my head now. Fantasian, Neo Dimensions, whatever the hell is his last game. I think he said it as something relating to health issues. I think.
Yeah, I mean it's
Um,
got to be a lot, especially how much like people forget he did the first 9 Final Fantasies like by himself.
oh yeah, like the band has put in the work. So for him to hopefully enjoy some years of retirement, hopefully it's not just him dealing with health issues for like 10 years and then passes, which tends to be a lot of retirements, unfortunately. Hopefully he's able to chill a little bit and enjoy his time because he's earned it. He's more than earned it.
Oh yeah,
So
it's arguable that I still think he might be the greatest composer in gaming like history.
he's definitely yeah, people refer to him as like the Beethoven, which I could see that for sure. I mean, you could make cases for certain guys being more influential than him, like say like a Koji Kondo, but
Hmm.
but as far as like establishing the type of sweeping RPG music that we like expect from Final Fantasies or whatever, like the JRPG soundtracks, it's basically Uematsu and the guy from Dragon Quest. I forget his name off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah, the least memorable of the 3.
I mean, his say what we will about him as a person, which there's a lot of bad things to say. Um, his contributions to video gaming, as far as like the soundtracks and all that, and helping to respect or helping to establish respect for the soundtracks, you have to give him some credit.
Oh, Koichi Sugiyama.
Sugiyama, that's right. Because because funnily enough, I believe his classical like rendition of Dragon Quest IV was the first concert ever held that was pure video game music.
Hmm.
So and yeah, Sugiyama was very influential in just like video game composing in general, and even Uematsu would say that he was an influence. But I think Uematsu's influence has extended even beyond Sugiyama's. You
I
know?
think Uematsu was like one of the first to really like bring in like weird kind of outlandish styles. Like he was big into bring prog elements into like video
Oh
game
yeah,
music.
he was a big fan of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, as was I.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I view it as like Sugiyama is like the Baroque style. I mean, if you listen to Dragon Quest music, it has sort of like a Baroque, early classical sort of vibe to it. And then Uematsu was like classical and then going into like romantic and even maybe early 20th century type of stuff. Like he was able to adapt with the
Hmm.
times, whereas Sugiyama just kind of stuck to what worked, which was perfectly
Oh yeah.
fine. I mean, most of the Dragon Quest soundtracks are great, but
Oh yeah.
Uematsu is kind of in a league of his own,
See, for me, like
extending beyond him.
with like Uematsu, like I know it's like it's a debated opinion of what his finest work is. I'm still a firm believer that FF8 is his strongest soundtrack, just because that's the one where he really like went outside of his like comfort zone and was doing some really different stuff.
Yeah. Like my favorite Uematsu piece, I almost said Sugiyama, that's a different one. My favorite Uematsu piece, it could just be like recency bias, but it's the main theme to Lost Odyssey.
Mm.
I love that theme song to bits. And that whole soundtrack is phenomenal. And apparently whenever people would compliment him on Lost Odyssey, he always was very happy about that because he was always especially proud of it. And people didn't talk about it as much. So,
No, it was a very overshadowed game. Like same with Blue Dragon. Like honestly, like
oh
I
yeah,
remember like when the last story came out, people were like hyping that one up because it was on a Nintendo console and people actually were talking about it. And arguably it has a great soundtrack, but I think that's his weakest out of the big three he did for
Mr.
uh
Walker.
Miss Walker at the time.
Yeah, I still think all three of those games need to come back. I mean, Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey are available on the series through backwards compatibility, but like Last Story at the very least, that one needs to leave the Wii because it'd be nice to give those games another chance. And who knows if Fantasian does really well, maybe maybe Miss Walker will actually go through the past. Sakaguchi will actually be like, you know what? Let's take some of these games and bring them up. Why not? People seem to want my old stuff
People always
because
forget too. He did the Smash Brothers Brawl theme.
oh, and I love the Smash Brothers Brawl theme. It's so fucking
It's
good.
it's so epic for no reason, and I fucking love it.
Well, you got to remember when the Brawl trailer first dropped, like the original E3 trailer, right? Where it
Oh
starts with
yeah.
like the GameCube models and then they upgrade to the Wii models and then that music starts playing. Like that E3 Brawl trailer is like one of the hypest trailers I've ever seen in my life. Like
Like that's the one
I
that ends
got
with Wario
so
fucking nuclear bombing everybody.
it does not. It ends with Snake.
Oh right, yeah, that's true. I forgot about the
Like
secret.
Wario shows up and nuke farts everybody, and then it cuts to the Solid Snake stuff
Yep,
where
that's
he
true.
comes out of the box, and that was the freak out moment where it's like, holy shit!
And
Like
then
they're
like a
doing
few
third
months later,
party characters, yeah,
yeah,
and then Sonic later on.
and then
Which
everyone
if
willed Sonic into existence.
I remember, both of them were at least talked about for Melee. Like I think Sonic was brought up for Melee, but they just couldn't figure it out at the time. And Kojima asked for Snake in Melee, but by the time he asked, they were too far in development
Oh yeah,
to add him in. So they were already in the working stages. But
you can tell Sonic was a very late addition to Brawl, though, especially considering how when he shows up in the subspace emissary,
yeah, that is true.
because it's
But I like
legit like right at the end. He just kind of is
yeah,
like, "Hey, I'm here."
but it makes sense because it's like if you're gonna do third party characters, that's like the immediate first
Oh
one you
yeah,
think of. So
damn. Brawl was
brought
a
I
Brawl was a
love
game.
we brought up Metal Gear in two completely different scenarios.
Yeah, we did. I still love when Snake appears in the
See
subspace emissary because it's just
see
a
that
box.
Oh yeah. See, that's another series I need to like sit down and play all of them. So hopefully when they do the second Metal Gear collection and then we can finally get MGS4 off the PS3, then I'll probably buy that and then play through all of them cuz I have just about all of them on Xbox already. So wait,
There's got to
I
be
haven't,
some.
I still haven't bought the version of the original yet
Hmm.
because I do have Twin Snakes for the GameCube, but
Yeah, there's got to be some weird reason why 4 is still stuck on PS3. I think it has to do with there's a lot of like subtle references to PlayStation 3 in 4 for whatever reason.
it's on a Blu-ray disc.
Well, yeah, because there's the whole point in the middle of Shadow Moses where he's like, Snake, you got to change the disc. Oh wait, we're on a PlayStation 3 console, and it's like, oh yeah,
You
this.
don't have to. And he's like, "What? What are you talking about?"
I still think the best one is Psycho Mantis with his like, he's like, what's this? Hard drive, wireless controller. Like,
I can't take this. Some of those I think you could still keep in there and it would be funny. It's not like Twin Snakes where that has too much Nintendo stuff baked into it.
yeah, they'd have to edit out because I know when he's having his freak out over not being able to read you, they show a PlayStation 1 in the background.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's true.
they'd have
Who
to
knows?
change that, but it's one of those things where they made that game so pro PS3 that it's kind of like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I was trying to remember what the Master Collection Volume 2 would be. Oh yeah, Konami back in September they confirmed that they are doing a second Master Collection, but they didn't say what was going to be in it.
Yeah, that's why I'm curious. I can't wait for the 3 remake though, just because like now that we've gotten confirmation that Konami cares enough to do remakes. I'm actually excited for Twin Snakes remake. I mean, not Twin Snakes, Snake Eater remake.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. That's another one where, like Silent Hill 2, I'll wait for other people to play it and let me know. Because yeah, because I thought I had heard with Volume 2, the rumor was it would be MGS4, Peace Walker, and Rising.
It's a weird
Which,
selection, but
well, there's really no reason to do 5. Like five's already on modern consoles.
true.
And like, what could you like? That game isn't that old, and it's like, what could you do to like add to it? Like, you're not going to get Kojima to go in and finish the story. So like, I
No,
don't know what, and they're not going to put Survive on there.
no. Well, I was thinking like Portable Ops because that game's always forgotten about.
But Kojima was never a fan of that game. Like people would ask him if it was in the canon, and he would say he's like, not really, but people like it, so sure.
It's close enough. Like there's stuff in
Yeah,
the background that could be canon.
but I think they would do Peace Walker first because Peace Walker is much more of a game than Portable
Well, the
Ops is.
Peace Walker is like basically the what was Metal Gear 5 for a long time.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing. I have the HD collection of 2, 3, and Peace Walker. So that's why it's like when the first Master Collection came out, I felt no real desire to jump in because if I remember correctly, Master Volume 1, like 2 and 3 are just the same versions that are on the HD collection for 360. And that's already backwards compatible. So
Yeah.
I felt no desire to get it.
See, the biggest.
I still keep thinking of pulling the trigger to get MGS1 because you can get it separately.
Hmm.
But I just don't think I've seen it on like a sale because I'm like $20 for a PS1 game. I don't know. If it's
Yeah.
like, if it was like, I'd give it 10. If it was $10, I'd be like, yeah, sure, why not? That's not a bad price.
Yeah. Because like I think the biggest disappointment was like the HD collection on Vita doesn't have Peace Walker. It's just 2 and 3. So it's like, god damn it.
Which is weird because Peace Walker was a PSP game, you know?
Yeah, you'd think it would be perfect on the Vita, but
They should have did like a separate like re-release of Peace Walker on Vita. Like, and
yeah,
it probably would have been like the definitive version of that game.
probably because that game was designed with 2 analog sticks in mind. It just doesn't use them.
Yeah. I'm told the version on the HD collection is pretty good.
It is, especially the freaking Monster Hunter map bonus shit for no reason.
I don't know a thing about that. So there you go.
Yeah. Metal Gear.
Metal Gear, Silent Hill, Konami. Oh, Konami.
The only other
love it.
HD remaster that's coming out that has me intrigued is the Tomb Raider Part 4, 5, and 6 one.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh shit.
I saw it and I was
Because-
like, Angel of fucking Darkness. How they're gonna have
Well-
to just make a new game at this point.
Because I played through the Survivor trilogy, I think it's called, like the newer ones. Really enjoyed all 3, and I've been like kind of wanting to go back and play the rest of them. And I have, what was the first of the Crystal Dynamics? The Legend, I think, on 360.
Yes.
Yeah, I got that on the Xbox store. It was like $2. I was like, that's why not, right? And I'll probably and I got the remake of the original Anniversary, and then what was the
Underworld.
follow? Underworld, thank you. So I want to play those, and then I was thinking of like going back and playing all the old ones because then they did the 1 through 3 remaster, and I'm like, oh, that'd be a good way to play those. I still haven't bitten the bullet on that yet, but then I was like, oh, the 4, 5, and 6, people don't really like those, so I was like kind of whatever on them. But then they announced that, and I'm like, well, shit, I might as well buy that and then play all of them.
I was just when I
I
saw
think
that
that's cool.
announced,
I think it's cool to see.
it is. I'm sitting here like when I saw it, I was just like, damn, they're gonna have to do a lot of work to 6 because that game needs fucking help on so many levels.
They probably did. I mean, to be honest, Angel of Darkness is kind of them re-releasing that in this remaster. It's not out till next year, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Because when I saw it, my first thought was, is this a shadow drop? But it's not. But in any case, seeing that made me think, oh, we probably should start maybe doing that and looking into older games that maybe could use some help and re-releasing them and realizing that, oh, they could actually be better. But people don't seem to like 4 and 5 that much anyways. Like what are they?
For
Last Revelation and
Chronicles.
Chronicles, yeah.
See, Last Revelation, some people don't like, some people don't. It's the ending is kind of what causes people to be divisive on it. Chronicles is just kind of like Elseworlds Tales, like bonus shit. Like it's all kind of just side story stuff. Angel of Darkness doesn't know what the fuck it wants to be.
Because was that the last one Core made?
So I had someone ask me, they were like, they knew nothing about it. And they were like, why is Angel of Darkness considered so bad? I'm like, think about it this way. The game was so bad that IDOS took it away from the company that made it and gave it to somebody else.
Yeah, isn't it like saving is horrible in that game? It controls really bad.
Horrible. They put there's like no there they took the Tomb Raider out of the tombs and now she's hanging out in the city like for some reason.
It's Mission Impossible or Splinter Cell.
Yeah, they added like RPG elements so like Laura can't like move crates because she doesn't have enough stats to do it. It's the dumbest
That's
shit.
bullshit. But
Yeah,
all that stuff feels like this remaster could fix all of that.
hopefully we still have yet to see. That's
going to be when that comes out. That's what everybody's going to be asking is, did they actually fix the game?
yeah. Ironically, I guarantee a ton of people are gonna just like ignore 4 and 5 and be like, "What about 6? How did they fix 6?"
Yeah, exactly. So, but I don't think it's a bad idea. I really don't.
Oh, I'd be all for them fixing it just so we could actually see possibly what that game's intended idea was because it had apparently this big like grandscaping like idea that just never got finished obviously because the game bombed so hard.
Yeah. So we'll see how like all these anti-woke people get mad at this new version of Lara Croft now.
Yeah.
Because whenever they do anything with Lara Croft, there's always that weird small subset of people that just want to be sure that she's as hot as she always was. And it's like,
no triangle boobs, not my Lara Croft, damn it.
just give her a big just give her pyramid heads like thing.
Yeah.
Right. There's your triangle for you. All comes back around.
I always joke because I'm always like Lara Croft's model in Tomb Raider 1 is like one of the most jank things you'll ever look at.
And people beat off to it too.
Oh, probably. Well, they were demanding a nude code for so long to the point where the dev team put a nude code into that makes Lara explode. It's great.
Which is amazing. Yeah, that was cool to see, and yeah, I need to keep digging through the Tomb Raider series because I really enjoyed the new ones. And people say the 360 trilogy isn't bad either. So
Legend's really good.
Oh yeah. So I'll hopefully I will get to those. That's all I ever do is talk about games I want to play and then I don't play.
That's just how gamers are these days.
That's a podcaster.
Yep. That being said, we should probably talk about the game that we're going to cover.
Oh shit! Episode. We went 40 minutes.
Yes, we have. But that's just how 3DO goes. But yeah, for this episode, we're talking about the Lost Files of Sherlock Holmes.
Fully titled, "The Lost Files of Sherlock Holmes: The Case of the Serrated Scalpel," or Serrated Scalpel.
Oh yeah, because there is actually a sequel to this game that came out a couple years later.
Yes, there is. It's weird to think there isn't, like, there's been quite a few attempts at making Sherlock Holmes games for consoles or just Sherlock Holmes video games in general. But it feels like there's never really been one idea or like one series that kind of stuck. You know what I mean? Especially when you've had these other series adapt like other classic literary characters to video games and it worked just fine. You think that somebody would have tried it with Sherlock Holmes, especially when you had like Carmen Sandiego doing her thing, you know? Like nobody ever really found an idea with Sherlock Holmes. But I think this game has like a really good idea for one.
It does. The my one thing I'll say right off the bat about this game that's kind of why I didn't get very far in it. It is very in depth with the amount of stuff you have to look at, and it feels like a Sherlock Holmes adventure. That's what I guess that's the easiest way of saying it.
Yeah, it's very slow.
Yes,
But you know, point and click games tend to be kind of slow in general. And you would think like,
especially for the mid early '90s.
yeah, but you would think like, oh, point and click. Perfect, makes sense. You can do like the mystery thing. And it does that. Like it has the really interesting opening, you know, like watching Jack the Ripper do his thing. Do his thing. And then, you know, Holmes is talking to Watson, and then you go investigate the scene and all that stuff. You know, it does a good job setting the tone for like a Sherlock Holmes style mystery. But yeah, I feel like just as the game progresses, it just kind of it loses itself, you know?
Yeah, like the best way to describe this game is the epitome of early '90s point and click.
Yeah, but like it's more of, you know, when they say like using the best of like a particular genre isn't always the best representation. You know,
Yeah.
like using say like Monkey Island, which I feel this game is like that's its direct sort of comparison. Like using that to represent point and click adventures as a whole is kind of unfair because there are many games like say the Sherlock Holmes game that is more representative of what people were trying to do, which was seeing what was working and trying to either just steal it outright or kind of put their own twist on it.
Mm. So I did a little backstory into the developer for this game, Mythos Software. They did not last very long at all. They were around from pretty much the early '90s, and they only made 3 games. They made this game, its direct sequel, and this game called Bodyworks Voyager, which is like some weird like anatomy educational game. I think I'm not really sure. Um,
Reminds me of Slim Goodbody.
yeah, kinda. That's a reference.
That is a reference, I know.
Yeah, they only made 3 games, and two of them were Sherlock Holmes games. They don't even have a Wikipedia page. I had to find that out from Moby Games.
Good old Moby Games. Yeah, see this like Bodyworks Voyager game, like this kind of neat. It's like you're like somebody who just like I guess it goes in and explores a human body, you know, but it's like a spaceship voyage type thing, you know.
Yeah, it's
Like
kind
that's
of like
kind of neat. I'd try that out.
yeah, just to see it. Those games only came out on PC. This one is the lone game that managed to get a 3DO port.
Yeah, yeah, and you try to. It was published by EA, and I believe the sequel was also published by EA. So with the EA connection, maybe they were thinking like, oh, you know, let's see if put it on 3DO, see what happens. Because point and click adventures didn't always work on consoles, but
Hmm.
you know there was some success with say Snatcher,
Oh
Kojima
yeah,
again. So
or
you know,
there was a ton of Sega CD point and clicks that were very decent games.
yeah. So they were thinking, oh, maybe this will work, and in some ways, I think it's kind of better than the PC port, especially like the PC music. I did not care for at
No,
all.
the music in this game really takes advantage of the CD because holy shit, that is a fucking punchy soundtrack.
Yeah, and like because the PC version, like the MIDI soundtrack on there, I think is just hot garbage. The 3DO does a much better job with it, but you can tell there was some like slight graphical hits, you know, as for
Yeah, here
PC
and
and
there.
console. But it tries to make up for it in one unique fashion.
Let me guess, the full voice acting.
The full motion video,
That too. Um,
which surprised the hell out of me. Like when I first like booted up this game, I didn't think we were going to get any of that. I thought it was going to be like, say, Monkey Island, where they'll have like the pixel mouth up and down and they'll just like chat or whatever. But like you go up to like, say, Watson and you ask him, like, oh, why, do you have your bowler hat on? And it's just a dude dressed like Sherlock Holmes. And it cuts to a guy dressed like Watson. And they're just like chatting right behind like a stone wall. It was like, what the, that's the 3DO quirk that this game
Oh yeah,
has, because like
and
every character is filmed.
there's a ton of voice acting in this version too, which is not present in the PC version.
Yeah,
Um,
which
and
again, this is a kind of game that needs voice acting.
oh yeah, and it's really good voice acting too. Like it's very clear, very crisp. Like doesn't feel like a lot of old CD based games were kind of jank when it came to the voice acting. Um, what's interesting too is so Sherlock Holmes is played by David Ian Davies. Um, I've never heard of him personally, but Watson is actually played by Laurie Main, who you might remember he was the narrator in a ton of old, like later, like early 2000s, late 90s Disney products. Notably, like all the Winnie the Pooh stuff. Like he was the narrator.
I mean, his line of credits is very long,
He also
very
played
very long.
he played Watson in the Great Mouse Detective, which makes
Which
sense.
quite the connection, eh?
Yeah.
Um, but he had a
um,
bunch of like TV appearances. Like he was on Murder She Wrote, he was on Get Smart, The Andy Griffith Show, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, Little House on the Prairie, like all of these old classic TV series he made and
the
the guest
original
appearance on.
the original Freaky Friday.
Yeah. Oh, The Girl from Uncle, which is a pretty cool show if you've never seen it. Um, you know.
His voice sounded really familiar when I was playing, and I looked it up. I'm like, oh, this is why I know this guy's voice.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, he looks like a Watson, so it kind of fits.
Yeah, no, no, he does the honestly like Sherlock's a little like cringy every now and then. Uh, he does a great Watson though. Like Watson was always like very on character.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But it is like the kind of quirk, excuse me, that this game has. Because outside of that, it's just kind of a whatever kind of.
It's a lot of clicking on shit and just reading and figuring logic puzzles and stuff. It's one of the reasons why early point and click adventure games tend to not age as well as the later ones, just because inherently a lot of these games they just didn't really know how to make these games both engaging and fun at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, like Monkey Eye, like the LucasArts ones really found that formula that worked. The mixture of like quirky scenarios and interesting logic puzzles, and even things like, say, King's Quest, which were, I think they got away with like being the first of their kind
Oh yeah.
to be that kind of thing. Because I don't know, going back and playing King's Quest or Space Quest is kind of rough these days.
Well, yeah, they
Um,
were definitely the first of their kind.
yeah, but playing a Monkey Island, it still holds up because of its pretty cool setting, unique characters,
Sense of humor alone.
sense of humor. Yeah, like LucasArts had that fantastic writing, and that's
Or
really
even
what you need in these kind of games is writing.
or even like if you want to go for something more for like younger audiences, the humongous entertainment games.
Ah, yes, yes, yeah. Freddy Fish.
Freddy Fish, Putt Putt. We'll be covering Putt Putt on this show eventually
Yes,
because
I
he
believe, I
has some
believe,
3DO games.
I believe Putt Putt was the only one to make it to 3DO.
I'll have to check if Fatty Bear was on here or not. But
Oh, Fatty Bear was, yeah.
the forgotten humongous entertainment
Yeah,
franchise.
yeah, Fatty Bear and Putt Putt were on here, but they both of them will get their own separate stuff
Oh yeah.
because yeah. But like the writing and kind of the quirkiness really helps. And Sherlock Holmes, this just didn't really do it for me. You know,
No, I don't.
I I was hoping that it would be something really cool and really special, but it just didn't hit because there was another Sherlock Holmes games I played. Speaking of Sega CD, I got to try to find it. So here, say
Yeah.
what you're gonna say. I got to try to
The,
find this game.
the way I felt this game felt while playing this was like I was like, this isn't a bad game per se. It is just it's one of those games that like time kind of left behind, and it's more of a relic nowadays than anything, which I feel like is an unfortunate detriment to it because it's really not the game's fault. It's just we've just come so much farther as an industry at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those games that just kind of got lost to time because, we just moved on and figured out better ways to make these kind of games, you know.
Yeah. Like
So
it's not like bad like a psychic detective where like it was just overly ambitious for what it wanted to be and it kind of failed because of that. This game succeeds at everything it tries to do. It's just unfortunately what it tried to do isn't very fun anymore.
exactly, unless your brain is wired to really enjoy these kind of point and click adventure games, you probably have a great time with it. But yeah, for nowadays, it's like I just don't know if there is like a really good Sherlock Holmes games worth playing these days. I honestly have no idea.
The last one I played, this is a bit of a stretch, but the last game that's even tangentially related was the Great Ace Attorney. So
Oh, Sherlock Holmes.
yeah, it's very he's very borderline in that one, but
The game I keep seeing pop up is a game called Sherlock Holmes Crime and Punishments on the 360.
oh, is that the one where Watson like pops in and out of existence all the time?
I've never played it.
There's a 3D Sherlock Holmes game where like you turn the camera and like Watson is just always there. Like whenever you turn around, he's like right behind you.
Yeah, it came
It's
out in 2014 for
I
PC,
think
PS3, PS4, 360, and Xbox One, and then came out on Switch in 22.
I think that's the one I'm thinking of. It's one of those things games where it's like not a creepy game, but it's unintentionally creepy because of how it was programmed. Like you just turn around
Yeah,
and it's just Watson staring at you, and you're like, "Oh, hi."
yeah, because I've seen people like bring that game up as like, oh, that's not a bad game, but I didn't know it was actually like a Sherlock Holmes kind of game.
Yeah,
But it's made by a company called Frogwares, which I guess looking at them, like what they do is they make Sherlock Holmes games. That's what they do. They've been making them apparently for a long ass time.
it's actually I'm thinking about this. Like, the one thing that like I feel like kind of makes um this game in particular kind of just like not as fun to play as say like a LucasArts game.
What's that?
There's something that later point and clicks added where it's like because like one of the things in these games that you always have to do is you kind of have to just click around it randomly and to find shit. A lot
Yeah,
of later games would add in like little extras and like little Easter eggs and goofs just to like keep the player entertained. Like the humongous entertainment games in particular were famous for this, where you just click on random shit and like shit would happen just to
yeah.
stimulate the brain. In this game, it's very much you click on something, you get maybe some dialogue, but it's very like, eh. Like it kind of just it's like, okay, cool.
It's very flat, you know? Like I've never
Yeah.
read a Sherlock Holmes book, so I cannot compare as far as the writing goes, but I imagine the writing is probably roughly the same level of like flat, which for like a mystery, you kind of need a little bit more spice there, I think, to keep most people interested. But
Yeah.
that could be it. So yeah. Oh yeah, Frogwares. They also made The Sinking City. I remember when that game was announced, and I thought it looked neat, but I never played it.
Yeah, it's just it's unfortunate. It's literally like one of those cases where it's like you just kind of it's kind of a game where it's like you turn it on and you're somewhat impressed, but then it immediately just kind of becomes just a flat kind of line of meh right away.
Yeah, yeah. You would hope it would be more, but it's I wouldn't even necessarily say it's a bad game. Like it does what it does decently well, and maybe people at the time liked it. But but that famous phrase, it didn't age well.
No, it's I think like what I said earlier, it's a game that got lost to time, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, exactly. So, oh, the Sega CD Sherlock Holmes I was thinking of was called Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, which is like it's apparently based on like a tabletop game book hybrid. It's like an interactive movie type of game. Like I never got super far when I played it back in the day, but apparently it got re-released on a PC back in like 2012. So
Oh,
I don't know. That might be something interesting. I don't know.
wasn't there like another one on Sega CD that like James Rolfe covered that was like also a kind of weird point and click game?
Uh, if it wasn't Sherlock Holmes, it might have been a different one. I don't
Or I'm
know.
thinking of maybe it was that Dracula game. Not the
Oh,
weird side scroller. There was another Dracula game.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think I know what you're talking about because he did talk about like the Bram Stoker Dracula game on Sega CD, and that had like weird bits of like dudes reading books, like he was reading the Dracula book, and then it would cut to like some platforming stuff.
Yeah, yeah, beat up these bats. Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective Collection. It's on Steam for they're $10 for all three games. And the one I had was the first one, which was The Case of the Tin Soldier, which I vaguely remember playing this game a little bit back in the day.
hmm.
So I don't know. It might be worth looking at. I don't know. It definitely has a lot more it has more of like that FMV quality to it that I think a game on the 3DO. You would see this game and think it was the 3DO game because it has a lot of FMV in it.
Yeah, this game honestly feels like it is like they took a PC game and just added some voice acting and better music and called it a day, which
Yeah.
I mean, fair. This is one of those rare ones where like the 3DO really isn't at fault for any of this game's shortcomings.
No, if anything, I think the 3DO version tries to improve and even streamline it a little bit. But
Oh yeah, I mean musically alone, it's much more tolerable. Although that music does get on your nerves after a while.
yeah,
The voice acting's solid, but other than that, it's very much a you play it for an hour and you go, ah, yeah, this was definitely a game at one point, and then you kind of forget about it.
yeah, that sounds right. So, do we want to look at the reception for this one?
Yeah, let's take a look at the reception. It's from what I remember, there's not a ton to like go over. So there was three reviews I saw. There was EGM, gave it a 6.6 out of 10 on 3DO. PC Zone gave it a 48 on DOS.
You're in the PC zone.
Yep. And 3DO Magazine gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Um, Apparently, Computer Gaming World also reviewed it. They said it has an unusually good story and is filled to the brim with audiovisual necessities, but it's not. It's but is not a game, just a series of animated vigilance. Um,
Wow.
for the time, that's actually a very topical review, I guess.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah. Other than that, like most reviews, just kind of they claim it looked nice, but got boring fast. Like that was kind of.
Yeah, I was hoping to look at the 3DO magazine review, but the Wayback Machine or the Internet Archive is currently down.
Is it still down? I heard it. I heard it was back up briefly, but all went down again.
The most recent update we have is Wayback Machine running strong, still working on bringing archive.org items and other services online safely. Team
Gotcha.
spirits high, but tired. So, I know they've been running into some legal trouble, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think they just got hacked by like a hacker recently, which has been causing all this shit.
Oh, yes. I can't look at the 3DO magazine review of Sherlock Holmes. This is bullshit.
Yeah, it can't be like that Dungeons and Dragons magazine that I had to like sift through to find that one tiny review of Monster Manor.
Yeah, but yeah, yeah, this game. But what would you say? Must play? Okay, stay away. What are you thinking?
Um, I hate to say it because it's not a bad game, but I'm gonna say this one's a stay away. It's just it's not worth playing anymore. That's the sad part about it.
It's not worth your time. Unfortunately, it is a stay away. Like, yeah, again, it's not a bad game, but unless you're like a die-hard point and click adventure game kind of guy or whomever, right?
Hmm.
Like, unless you love those fucking games, like you've beaten Thimbleweed Park like 50 times and you need more of that in your life, sure, go for it. But other than that, like, I can't really recommend this game for you.
No, it's just it's too dated for its time, and it's not even like insultingly bad like D kind of was. Sorry, Dre. Um,
No.
that's just a game that aged badly, like in a lot of other ways. This game just kind of it literally it just for its time it was probably fine, but nowadays it's probably unacceptable these days,
Exactly.
and that's not really its fault. It's just an unfortunate aspect of gaming.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, this is kind of like I think the first one where we've really had where it was just kind of like like because I know we've had bad kind of games like this in the past where we've kind of given it the okay for its historical sense or like at least what it tried. This one's just kind of like there's really nothing to even defend. It's just it's an early 90s game and it kind of deserves to stay in the early 90s.
Yeah, like as much as I did not enjoy us playing like Alone in the Dark, right? Like that game's historical significance was enough to where putting it higher in the list or whatever would make sense, right? But this doesn't have that, because
No.
Sherlock Holmes never really became like a notable video game icon. That was just never really in the cards for him,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Like Alone in the
Um,
Dark directly influenced Resident Evil and Silent Hill, two series that are still
that
going
we
strong to this day.
one that we talked to, Silent Hill. I feel like Silent Hill is finally. It might be
It's
in the
coming
beginning.
back.
It might be in the beginning of a comeback. Like I need to see what Silent Hill F does, which is like the next mainline
True.
original title. I need to see what that game does
Maybe not
because
staying strong, but are still relevant, I guess is a better word.
oh yeah, like Silent Hill will always be relevant in its own way for better or worse. I was seeing people say that they're like, oh, with the Silent Hill 2 remake coming out, all these Silent Hill 2 fans will finally get to play their favorite game.
Yeah, it's like the Earthbound fans.
Yeah, exactly. So, um, but yeah, Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill is just, yeah, I think it'll always be relevant because despite it being like chasing the Resident Evil trend, it was able to stand apart, and kind of be its own thing. But Sherlock Holmes it was never going to do that. Like, weirdly enough, the best Sherlock Holmes game I've ever played is, I don't know, Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Yeah.
I can't remember if he's in that game or not. I don't think he is. But there is a DLC, the DLC for where you do the Jack the Ripper stuff. And this game is, you're going after Jack the Ripper. But the Syndicate, like Jack the Ripper DLC, is phenomenal. Like, it is worth the price of admission. So play that instead.
Hell, even like Professor Layton feels like a more interesting
Oh yeah,
Sherlock Holmes.
Professor Layton is like the video game version of Sherlock Holmes in a weird way.
Yeah,
Love,
honestly.
I mean, you know me, I love the Layton games. So
Well, I mean, like the crossover game in particular alone to me feels like the perfect like Sherlock Holmes game in a lot of ways.
yeah, yeah. It's just a shame, I guess, we never got somebody to just properly do one based on the literary character. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. Who knows? Maybe one of those frog games, Sherlock Holmes games, is actually like pretty good, and we're just being ignorant.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard that 2014 one is pretty good, but I've never played it, so I can't really say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I'm not sure what to play next though for 3DO.
Well, should we do a spooky one? Because
That's
Halloween.
that's what I was thinking. But do we want to do Killing Time next, or because I still feel like we need to wait on for the remake.
Yeah, I wouldn't do Killing Time. I'll say we could either do the spooky one next week or the week after. Up to you.
I know we still got time. Maybe like the week after actual Halloween week, we'll save it. And because I mean, what do we got current like that we can still do? That's actually something I should probably look at.
Maybe we could do Casper.
We could do Casper. I'd have to find an emulator of it. I could reach out to Schnickerman and see if he still wants to join us for that.
Yeah, do that. Let's do. We'll either do Casper next week or the week after.
Okay.
We'll
Yeah,
set
we'll
it up,
plan on.
and then we'll see what we do instead to fill in.
Yeah. And worst comes to worst, I'm going to see if it's the same game as the PS1 version because if worst comes to worst, I can just grab that version and play it
There you
that way.
go.
Because the
There you
3DO
go.
version is fucking expensive for some
Yeah.
reason. I saw it at Retro World for $500, and I was like, "Fuck that."
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck
Um,
that shit.
that being said, though, guys, once again, thank you for joining us on the 3DO Experience. The 3DO Experience can be found on all the major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcast and Spotify. And be sure to check us out over on superpodnetwork.com. There's a ton of awesome shows, videos, blogs. We're currently in the middle of a Spooktober, doing a bunch of spooky themed video game blogs. I think most recently, Jameson just put out that blog on that Dreamcast like beat 'em up game. I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but I know exactly the one it is. Um, a lot of fun stuff going on over there.
And tune in because my Silent Hill 2 blog will be very soon.
Nice.
So
I
stay
also
tuned for that.
I did
I
one
have
on
things to say about this one.
I did a blog on Illbleed recently, which is up still to check out. That game is very wacky.
And that blog was very good.
Thank you. That being said, though, we also have a lot of awesome shows, including Super Pod Saga, Super Ghost Radio, Retro Rehab, Tommy's Video Game Ride Along, Novel Console, Bar Silence, Fine Time, the Elder Trolls Gaming Podcast, Remember 64, Gaming Together, Friday Night Gamecast, the 3G&C shows, Gaming and Collecting, the 3DO Experience, us, Geek Addicts, and the newest addition to the SuperPod network, we've got the Retro Wildlands.
Yeah, hell yeah. Love Retro Wildlands.
Great guy, Nomad. And be sure to check out. Are you streaming this week?
Maybe.
Okay.
We'll see. I'm kind of on the fence. I think just because like it's been so busy and I'm
Yeah,
still
getting
kind of
back.
getting back into the groove. We'll see. It'll be a game time decision.
Yeah, so I'll put the notice up regardless. Check out link down below. You'll see if he's up. If he's on, you'll see. So be sure to.
If you go to my Twitter at Thrack94, I will let you all know.
Yeah, nice. But other than that, guys, once again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you all later.
Bye bye.